You're smart, you're motivated, you want to do something big. You're on the verge of being a young boss, and we're going to help you get there. I'm your host, Isabel Garino, and welcome to the Young Boss Podcast, where youth is your power. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce a world-class photographer and multifaceted entrepreneur, Michael Williams. Michael's illustrious journey began with the rugged charm of skateboarding during his youth and the intricacy of mechanics during his college years, paving the way to his illustrious career in photography. With over 12 years capturing the glitz and glamour of fashion to the raw emotions of portraits, from the precision of product photography to the vast and vibrant landscapes to the dynamic world of commercial and sports photography, Michael has done it all. From Phoenix to California and back, his journey is a blend of passion, innovation, and striking visuals. Michael's not just about the lens, he's carved a niche in the competitive freelance world, mastering the solopreneur journey. Michael, welcome to the Young Boss Podcast.
Thanks for having me.
That was quite the intro.
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever get an intro like that.
I like it, illustrious.
Ever in my life. Yes.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about how you got started in photography.
So I got started when I was 13 years old. Took a class as black and white film photography in junior high.
Yeah.
My sister took it the year before, and I thought it was so cool that she was coming home with these prints and everything. And I always had an interest in photography because my parents had all these old slides.
Oh.
And so that we'd have slide nights where we'd just sit down, make some popcorn.
And go through
old slides. And my dad went to Europe for a whole year for his internship in college. So, they'd show us all these spots in Europe and everything, which really instilled photography is really cool, but also travel's really cool. And so there's a lot of things that kind of went into that. So when I had the opportunity, I took the class, I fell in love with it. Black and white photography, it's very magical in a sense. Mm-hmm. So the moment you see the chemical reaction of your image coming into being on paper in this chemical weird red room,
right,
it's just fantastic, and it just got me hooked ever since.
So is your whole family involved in photography?
No, my dad used to be really into photography and just recording, and me and him growing up, I rode dirt bikes a lot, and so that was our bonding thing. And so he would always take pictures of me doing jumps or something, or out on a trail, or he'd come up next to me with the camera and just nod at me, so I'd do a wheelie or something. So
it was kind of your thing.
Kind of my thing, but
okay, cool.
My dad, I think, definitely helped inspire it a little bit.
Very cool. We talked earlier before we started, and I was saying I feel like photography is such a fun career that people try to get into, right? Maybe they started as a hobby. For you, did it start as a hobby? Were you doing something else, or were you this is it for me?
It was totally a hobby.
Okay.
I didn't know I would make a career in photography until, I don't know, I was probably 22, 23. Yeah, 23. It was just a hobby. I had my own darkroom. After high school, I created my own darkroom, rented out a small bathroom just so I can do it, and then kept taking college classes.
Just to learn?
Just to have access too. So I had the college darkroom, so that there, but also had my own darkroom, so it was kind of fun.
Yeah.
And actually my college professor, my first college photo teacher, absolutely hated me. I took his class because I wanted access to the darkroom. This is before I made my darkroom.
Okay.
He was like, "You don't do any of the assignments. What are you doing in this class?" And I was like, "Well, I'm just using the darkroom." And so the last week he was like, "You've done nothing. I'm going to fail you." And so I gave him this big portfolio of everything I've been doing. He gave me an A.
He just didn't like that you're being a little facetious.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's funny. Okay, so it started as a hobby, and then you're like, I'm going to make this a full-time thing over the course of time. What was the first big gig that you got?
Well, I went through college. It took me 7 years to get through college.
Okay.
Didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
I was a mechanic at the time.
Okay.
Working full time, so just night classes. And then I loved the idea of being a Nat Geo photographer.
Oh.
And so I shot for the stars. I went over to ASU. I was doing the art program there.
Yeah.
And I loved the art program, but I was getting concerned. I was 23 at the time, like, all right, how do I make money here? How do I make this a career? Where do I go after college? Because I'm screwed.
Yeah.
And put out some emails to get an internship, and I landed one with a huge photographer in LA. And so I went out, I got the call, went out, interned with her for a whole summer. Her name's Lauren Greenfield. She actually won best director at Sundance.
Wow.
Huge established photographer, Nat Geo. I mean, any publication you can name, she's probably shot for it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Went out, worked a couple jobs with her, worked that whole summer, got hooked on, I think it was 2 days of Nicorette gum.
Yeah.
And just looking around and seeing everything in motion, seeing sets and everything, and realizing like this is a huge industry and this is a huge business. Just getting that introduction into advertising was hooked me.
Okay.
Immediately. Yeah.
I love that. And is there like, you have shot a lot of things in your life, right? Nat Geo's very different than a lot of the golf stuff that, you've been doing recently.
Absolutely.
So do you have a favorite?
I wish I've shot for Nat Geo. I don't. I feel like my favorite projects are when there's a good connection. I really love working with people.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good at shooting product, but I feel like when I get to work with people, I'm a lot more happy.
Okay.
I really like talking with people and connecting and having that interaction.
Yeah.
Whereas, if I'm photographing golf clubs, they're cool and it's a very fun mental puzzle to create the best image and work around such a hard product. But at the end of the day, I haven't talked to anyone. I've just been staring at a piece of metal saying, how do I make this thing not look bad or show my face in the reflection of it, So when I get to talk to people and really connect with people, that's
your favorite?
Yeah.
I love that. Is there any tips you have for someone who is doing photography right now more as a hobby and they're saying like, I really want to take it full time? Like, is there some tips that you have that maybe helped you or you wish you knew or something?
In retrospect, I feel like I did things all right. I reached out to photographers.
Okay.
That's the best way to learn.
Relationships?
Get a relationship with a mentor. Finding mentors is so invaluable.
Yeah.
That's what I did. I got back from my internship and I reached out to photographers here. I remember the email that I sent. I was still a mechanic at the time. I said, I want to quit my job tomorrow and I want to work in photography for the rest of my life.
I love it.
And the next morning I had a call from a studio owner and he said, come down here. He interviewed me and I started working for him.
That's like such a burn the ships moment. I love it. You're like, I want to quit. Like, it's not like I'm thinking about, or maybe one day, can I work for you part-time? You're like, I want to quit.
Yeah. I mean, for me, like really getting started in photography was learning how to find the resources. And there's so many, it's so technical. It's, it's very demanding on relationships. It's a very hard industry to be jumping into.
Yeah.
And I think find people, talk to people, and just feel it out. I mean, if you enjoy it, cool. But it definitely changes when you're working in it.
Yeah. What's the not so glamorous side?
I can't lie. I hate running my business.
Okay.
I absolutely hate running. I love what I do. But like doing my taxes, keeping up on invoicing, especially when I'm busy, like all the office work that I have to do, it's so rough.
Yeah.
Because I mean, obviously, like I just want to be out in the world. I want to be.
You want to do the duty, the job.
Yeah.
You don't want to run the business.
Exactly.
Do you have an assistant?
I have many assistants.
We need to get you an assistant to do all that.
The problem is I have assistants on set.
Oh, okay.
I don't have an assistant. I haven't been able to find somebody
who can run all that.
Because the problem is, and I've talked to other older mentors and photographers about this, it's really hard when you're running your own business and trusting people to represent you in the best way.
Oh, yeah.
And with something that's so individual and so precise as a business like mine, like it's really hard to put your faith in someone that they're not going to say something wrong or, mess up a relationship or something, because a lot of like what I do it's just me. You know? So.
And they're buying into you and they need to trust you. And if someone's there and they said something or did something wrong and then you show up, you're like, what the heck?
Exactly. Yeah, it's very hard.
Okay. So we need to find the perfect assistant for you then.
Are you out there?
Maybe they're listening. Okay, tell us about like maybe a big like failure or lesson you had that you were like, oh my God, I wish someone could have told me about this before.
I think the biggest failure that I've ever had is I did this job for about a whole month shooting golf clubs.
Okay.
And it was so long, and I had 2 other photographers helping me and multiple assistants. It was a whole production.
Yeah.
This was a gamble, just a referral that came my way, and everything worked out great. The photography was awesome. And basically what they were doing is creating like a club builder. This was for golf.com, and they were making this pro shop where you can build the clubs on the website.
Very cool.
And so the images were very specific, and it had to all match within the angle and everything. So on the builder, it would build into
each other, like line
each
up.
other, exactly, and it would line up. And super cool concept. Was super excited about it. Amazing month-long job. Like I had the best crew, great morale, and finished the project up. They launched the website, and I went on there and I checked it out. And I was super excited, and then within the next month, it was gone. Pulled the whole project.
Oh.
And so it felt like a failure, but the producer at golf.com called me and he said, I don't know what to say, but we pulled the whole project because the web developer couldn't deliver. So, there was no issue on my end.
Right.
We all got paid and everything was fine. But, it was really sad to see like, oh, well, this hard month-long project that me and this team did and like put a lot of effort into and everything, it just doesn't exist. It just
that's
gone.
like heartbreaking.
Wiped. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine any time that you're putting your time and effort and energy into it. Like obviously getting paid is important. You're happy you got paid.
Yeah.
But then your work doesn't come to fruition. It's just like, it's just like an ouch. Like
Absolutely.
it can be like heartbreaking. I feel like, okay, tell me, there's a colleague of yours who has a similar name, same name. Has this affected any of your business?
I feel like that there's so many me's out there.
Are there?
There, Michael Williams. I mean, we're everywhere. There's an Instagram called the Michael Williams of the day. And
how do you keep yourself distinct then as like the go-to guy for, golf photography or whatever it is?
So being here in Arizona, like it's kind of nice. I thought about going to LA. I thought about going to New York. And when it came down to it, I stayed here to feel it out. And it's actually nice to be in like a smaller market. There is another photographer here. His name is Matt Williams.
Okay.
And we're actually office mates.
Oh, that's funny.
So there's a couple of us in the same office, and it's kind of fun. But we've had shoots where back when I was assisting photographers, I would show up and people would go, "You're not..." And they forget, and they're like, oh, I hit up Mike Williams, not Matt Williams, and it's super interesting. Like, we've had a couple different mix-ups occasionally, but
that's funny.
To stand out, back to my point of being in Arizona and being in a smaller market, it's kind of nice because working on my SEO, if you search Phoenix, Arizona commercial photographer, sometimes I'm on the first page. Recently, I don't think I am. Yeah, it's nice to be able to be searchable instead of being in LA. If you type Los Angeles commercial photographer, you can only imagine there's just a million of them. Yeah. So it's kind of nice to be in a smaller town. I mean, what are we, 6? Phoenix is the 6th largest.
6th largest, yeah.
So it's not bad. It's got its...
You've got enough work here to keep you busy.
Yeah, it's got its perks. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Do you spend a lot of time on branding and marketing and kind of getting your brand out there, or is it really more of a word of mouth industry?
I feel like a lot of my work is word of mouth.
Yeah.
I have done marketing campaigns where I'm emailing and I'm going through lists and trying to, make connections. But a lot of the time it's me meeting people out in the world, out in the wild. And, as simple as giving my card away on an airplane sitting next to a person.
Could get you the next gig.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of strange. It's a very strange thing. And no one likes doing cold emails. You know, it feels like you're walking up to a door to knock on it.
Yeah.
It's strange. It's awkward. There's no reference, you know. But I have gained clients that way. But a lot of it is word of mouth.
Have you ever had a campaign, a shoot, a job that you were like, I really want this, and you like tried to go for it? Or is it mostly what comes to you?
Mostly it's what comes to me. I mean, campaigns aren't really out there for the taking.
Not like advertised.
No. Basically, it's a bid system. So let's say an advertising agency has a job and they're doing a whole shoot about mayonnaise. Yeah. And they're like, oh, well, this mayonnaise job is going to be this and everything. And they send it out to 3 different people. Like, this is the creative brief. This is what we're looking for. If you could send us a estimate and then elaborate on any creative, that would be great. And so basically, you know, these 3 photographers will send in their estimate. They'll send in their ideas and whatever else they want to send in to try to win the job.
Yeah.
And then the agency will look at all 3 and say, okay, well, here's this portfolio, here's the budget, and here's this. And it's not always who has the best price. It's, I hope it's not the best price, but you know, they go from there and they say, well, this guy has photographed mayonnaise before, and
yeah,
well, let's do him. Or this guy is $20,000 cheaper.
Right.
Why wouldn't we go with him?
Right. It's whatever they're going for.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's
so they bid it out then.
Yes, they put it out there and then we bid it.
Yeah. But it's not like there's like a list of jobs coming up, or you hear about a job coming up and you try to throw your name in the hat or something.
Man, I wish there was just a board out there
right?
that I could throw a dart and get a job. That'd be fantastic. Or really bad, probably really bad, but
probably bad. But yeah. I'm thinking more like, because you do so much products, there's seasons to it, right? They get new shoots they've got to do, their spring collection, their fall collection, their this, their that. Yeah. So there is somewhat of a schedule to it. So if you know things are coming up, there's not like I can put the word out there that, hey, I'm available.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, if you've been working with somebody, you definitely know like when things are happening and you can just send that email and say, hey, I just want to know if anything's coming down the pipe right now.
Yeah. Is that something that you really aim for, to get jobs that you get to come back for, like continuing to working with a brand?
I like I love return
customers.
Work. Yeah. It's fun, it's easy, and I feel like it's beneficial on both ends. Yeah. It just depends on, you know, the kind of shoot.
Right.
Creating consistency within anyone's brand is huge, and to maintain that consistency builds your brand and makes more of an established look. You know, let's say golf apparel. If that apparel is using different photographers, I mean, you're going to get different looks, but you know, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but you just never know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love working for clients over and over again.
Hey, it's Isabel. Thanks for listening to the Young Boss podcast. I recently wrote a book called Young Boss, and it's filled with top tips I've learned over the years on how to survive and thrive in business. Pre-order your copy now by heading to the link in the podcast description. Now, back to the show. I'm curious about the costs to get started as a photographer, okay? Because cameras can be insanely expensive, right? And then do different shoots require you to buy different products or things to accomplish what they're looking for?
It's a great question. Photo equipment is so expensive.
Yeah.
If you have a camera, I mean, you can start without any equipment.
Yeah.
You just rent it all, but it's going to cost you money. Usually you need your client to pay for that.
Okay.
And typically there are rental costs that come with any kind of job. So those costs, like, let's say I need a special light or something, I just go rent it for a job. Okay. And then tack it on the invoice if budget exists.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I think really just starting out with a camera and like one camera, one lens, and you can start from there. Yeah. You'll figure it out. I mean, as you know, if you're starting as a photographer, you're not thinking about lighting that much. Grab your camera, go out, take some pictures, start learning lighting, go to YouTube University and figure it out. And then, you know, all the equipment costs will gather. I mean, I started in 2015 as a freelancer, and the amount of things I've bought since then is just wild.
Okay.
But I could rent it all too. So.
Oh, you can now rent it out to other people.
True. Yes.
Love that. Because I'm thinking like on one hand, it feels low cost to start, right? You don't have to buy a brick and mortar building. You don't have to buy like all this material or products or whatever, and you don't need a massive staff. So on one hand, it's low cost. On the other hand, the products you do have to buy are insanely expensive.
Oh, yeah.
And there's always something new coming out, or I'm sure enticing products that you want to buy.
Always. Always.
But that is interesting. You can almost make money from the rentals, or if you're not ready to buy it, okay, you rent it for that specific shoot to get accomplished whatever you need to get accomplished. What point do you start to break even or make money in this? Is this like you need one job and it's like, okay, we made it big? Or is this like you're needing, like, obviously you need consistent work to survive, but you know what I'm saying? Like, how does that work?
I feel like with equipment costs and, you know, trying to break even and come out above, it's, you have to be true to yourself and true to your clients when you've got a job coming up. I mean, there's so many different things. I'm working in a commercial sphere where I'm working on commercial advertising and corporate jobs. And it's way different than, like, let's say a wedding photographer. A wedding photographer probably doesn't have as many costs as I would, what kind of photographer they are, what kind of job they're doing. But yeah, it just really depends. And the back end work of calculating everything and being your accountant and trying to make sure, like, oh, well, you know, I just bought this $4,000 camera and this lens was $2,500. So, you know, after taxes, I'm in way too deep.
Yeah.
How do I recover here,
Yeah.
you know, and cover this? Well, hopefully you're paying cash, but, you know, a lot of us finance our stuff and then over time, you know, figure it out, make sure that we're charging appropriately. I mean, all the equipment that I own, when I bid out a job, it's still being tacked on as a rental because I have specialty equipment that if I didn't have, I'd still have to rent out. But, you know, I rent it out at
A lower cost.
Which is beneficial for everyone because it pays out, you know,
pays for you to buy the product.
Pays for me to buy the product.
And they get what they need.
They get what they need, yeah.
Do you ever worry about when the next job is going to come?
All the time.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, and it's hot here.
Yeah.
We shut down from like June to August, and then everything slams back. I mean, anything in studio or like those kind of work, that kind of work that's more like product focused or in studio, yeah, you might have some jobs, but a lot of people in Phoenix just take off and travel. And a lot of those out of town jobs that would come in from, you know, elsewhere, they're not coming to Arizona in the summer. No one's here.
Yeah.
So it's...
Did you know that was a thing?
I didn't.
You like learned it your first year and you were like, oh shit.
Yeah. And like, luckily I had some mentors, I had some acquaintances, and it was interesting. They were like battening down the hatches and like the first year of my freelance career, I started seeing this and people are like, oh yeah, I probably won't work until August. Why are you saying that? And then, you know, I was unemployed for like a month or two and I was like, okay, this is interesting. And then it slammed back. So there are times like that where it gets very cold and it gets quiet. And
then as a business owner, you have to say, okay, I still have my costs, my expenses of living, and I need to survive. So what do I have to do in those other months to let me survive?
Exactly. And I used to think of it as a bad thing.
Yeah.
I love it now.
Because you get a built-in break.
I love it so much. I took off to San Diego this summer and lived out there for 2 months, and that was just awesome. Yeah. Shuttled back and forth for work as necessary, but it's nice for me because for the rest of the year, usually I'm pretty busy. Yeah. And to take like at least a month to work on my back end and redirect my efforts and say, what do I need to do to make this next year successful? It's like an end of year for me, just to say, all right, I'm in my slow season. What am I focused on this next year? How do I adjust my website? How do I build my portfolio in this moment? Because I never know when I'm going to get slammed again. Yeah. So it's kind of a blessing.
Yeah. It gives you a built-in break.
Yeah.
Which is probably much needed because I assume once work starts coming, it's kind of like, it hopefully starts coming and then you are in a crazy season.
It feels like that. Once I always say it's like surfing. Once you catch a wave, you're just on the wave until it ends. Yep. And you know,
and you're like,
sometimes it's short, sometimes it's long, and you know, hopefully it's long. But
okay, cool.
When you're riding the wave, you can't do anything else.
I love that. What's some of your shoots or jobs that you've been the most proud of in your career?
It's really hard to think about like photo shoots that I'm really proud of because there's been so many different things that I've worked on. Like,
yeah. Tell us, how about what are a couple companies that you've shot for that would be like exciting for listeners to hear, to be like Bad Birdie's obviously huge.
Yeah. Okay. There's been a lot of photo shoots that, there's been a lot of photo shoots that I've really enjoyed. Recently, there was a really fun one with a Denver Broncos player that was super exciting, and it wasn't a like great photo shoot or anything, but it was exciting because like I was telling people, and I have family in Denver, and like they're like, oh, that's so cool. Like I went to Denver and shot a campaign for Smashburger with this player, Javonte Williams. And that was really cool because like, I'm not a sports person at all, but like, when sports people like talk to me and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to photograph Javonte Williams, or I've photographed a couple Padres players, Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis Jr.
That's exciting.
And it's fun because like, as not a sports person, I don't really geek out. I don't have like a lot of celebrity, like
fandom.
Yeah. And I think it's really fun when people can freak out for me. And
it's probably good that you don't freak out, because you can't be the photography on shoot and be like, oh my God.
Yeah, no. And it's weird because like I feel like I would only freak out with like celebrities if
you cared.
If I really cared, but like I can't really think of anyone. Like old school skateboarders, if I met like an old skateboarder, I'd probably couldn't talk.
Keep hanging out in San Diego, you'll run into Tony Hawk.
Right. Actually,
he's around.
I got a line there. I could probably pull. I know someone. There's been so many different photo shoots, and every different shoot is so unique and so fun, but it's exciting when I get to see other people excited as well.
Yeah, I bet. And I feel like probably I didn't even think about that. Like products are cool, companies are cool, but people are even cooler, because you said you love working with people and interacting with them.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
That makes a lot of sense. When it comes to scaling a photography business, I know right now it's you, and even the thought of having someone to represent you feels scary. But is there like a goal to say like, hey, I want to have all these, like a team of photographers underneath me who we are the brand, and get jobs in that way? Or is the goal just to stay with you? You are the, talent, and they're hiring and booking you, and just keep growing you.
For me, myself, I would love to get like a studio manager one day where, they're helping me with emails. I would love to have my own studio and office, just have a good home base. Okay. Right now I used to have that at a studio where it was just an office, and it was a couple different photographers sharing a space, and it was nice. But I think having my own space with having an assistant to help me out with the day in day out stuff, like a little bit of retouching and stuff would be great. As far as like other photographers and other photography businesses, I'm familiar with a lot of different product shooters who bring on other product photographers. They run their business with multiple different photographers, and they have a brand. The kind of photography that I do, I feel like is so unique and so different every time. It's never the same thing, and I don't think I could scale in that direction. Not to be narcissistic or anything, but it's just me. And if I'm not right for the job, I'll give you some referrals to other people that are.
I think that's good. You're standing by it, and when they're signing up for you, it's you. And not everyone who's listening, right? Some people's businesses, they do want to learn how to scale and how to grow and how to 10x. And other people are like, we've had other guests on, right? Elena and Beef, who their business, and they were like, if we have to hire an employee, we're too big. We don't want that. We don't want to be responsible for all these other people. We want it to be us, so we get that personal touch with all of our customers. And that's exactly what you're saying. You're like, this is my face, my product, my brand. I don't need to be this huge thing. And maybe in the future it changes, but there's no right or wrong answer. Every business owner has their own goals, So I love it. Okay, where can we look for some of your work? Where can we learn more about you?
Well, Instagram is Mike W. Williams. I don't post there often, but I try. I'm not very forward-facing on social media. michaelwarrenwilliams.com is my website.
Love it.
And that has all my work on there. And
cool. Anything else you want to shout out? Anything I should ask you?
I can't really think of anything. I had a phone call on my way over here, and it was from a photographer, and he was an in-house photographer with a production company, and he just went freelance, and he just called me and it was actually a really interesting conversation because he wanted to just connect.
Yeah.
And he told me something. He said, I just feel really alone. right now. And I was like, you can call me whenever, dude. And, you know, everything. So I think maybe that's the only thing I can add is like, if you wanted to ask something about
but
that.
I love this.
With like, you know, how is the community? But I think I kind of covered that with like find a mentor and everything.
But I do think that's a really interesting thought to go off of. It could seemingly be an extremely lonely career because you are like, it's just you. And then a lot of the times when you're in that, you know, room developing your photographs anyways too, right? It's just you. Like, it's not a very community sport.
No, it's not.
And so how do you feel not alone, you know, in such a solo job?
It's really hard when you're working as a photographer because it's very lonely.
Yeah.
I mean, you're running your business and everything. You might hire people, but you're only seeing each other on set. And so creating a community around you that's healthy and finding people, other photographers that, you know, you can talk to either in confidence with something a little bit deeper or anything.
Yeah.
It means a lot to have that. And I mean, my wife, she, bless her soul, she gets the brunt of all my things, but like there's a point where like she just doesn't understand because she's not in the business and she's not doing what I do. And so to have people to reach out and have these conversations where it's like, how do we feel about AI is getting so big?
Yeah.
How do we feel about this? What is the future? 5 years or 10 years ago, we were talking about the shift in social media and everything. And there's been a lot of big scares, you know, through the creative industries and a lot of shifts that have happened. And to have the community there to talk about these and to be open and to be honest with each other and ourselves has been like extremely helpful. So
yeah, actually that is huge. I didn't even, it's not clicking until right now how many things have happened, especially with the coming age of technology, right? That have affected your business. And with AI coming out, I mean, I know Alex and I have talked about, right? Like that they're just taking the photo of the model and just putting the clothes on them, right? Almost like you were talking about with the golf club.
Yep.
They're doing that now. And so are things like that eliminating jobs?
Absolutely eliminating jobs. It's very interesting. I mean, social media, if you talk to any like social media brand manager, videos get views. And so like as a photographer, it's hard to hear that.
Yeah.
And it's true though, because the videos do get views. It catches your eye, makes you stay longer, makes you say, oh, okay, well, look at this brand. But you know, photographs still have their place.
Yeah.
It's just, where do they have it and how do you shift? Is it on social media or is it brand focus? Is it website? Is it, you know, billboards? Is it, you know, weddings? There's so many different, you know, aspects of photography, but it's very weird to, you know, have to shift I feel like every 3 years now. It used to be every 5 years is what people said, but now it's like every 3 years there's a shift and we need to learn and how to, you know, navigate these new waters.
Yeah. Well, I heard this thing about AI that said like back in the day when tractors came about, everyone was like, oh my God, we're all going to lose our job. Right. And then it was the people who learned how to use the tractors who kept their jobs.
Right.
So I feel like with all technology, it's kind of just like you can sit there and hate on it all day, or you can be like, how can I incorporate this into what I already do? And you can keep your skills that you've had, but also grow into the new skills. And then now you're the one photographer who, when they do need someone to oversee something or they want to use AI, okay, now you become known as that because you're staying on top of things, you're staying innovative.
Yeah.
But having the community to talk to and to say, how are we going to deal with this is so important because then you're not alone. And also you get to bounce ideas off of each other because sometimes you can start going through that spiral of like, oh my God, I'm not going to ever get a job again. And, you know, freaking out. So
I think it's in like any business though, like you need people to talk to. You need to, you know, be open, talk to people and, you know, the same industry. You got to be friendly.
Yeah.
You know?
And if you can't do a job, I'm sure you're happy to recommend some people who you know, like, and trust.
Always happy.
And then they're happy to do the same for you. So the more friends you have versus enemies, right, helps you get even more jobs instead of the opposite where people probably assume like, oh, I don't want to be too friendly with all these people because they're my competition.
Right.
You're actually all a community, you know? So
I feel like a lot of like, get real deep here. Skateboarding taught me a lot.
Yeah.
Going and skateboarding with friends. If I did a trick and it looked bad, they would tell me. And Now I go on a photo shoot, and if it comes out bad and I know it's bad, and I go to people, I say, was that bad? And they'll be like, yeah, that's bad. It's like, all right, well, I got to up my game now. Like, you know, and it's interesting, like having the community there to like bring you up when you're up, or like tell you need to do better. It's good.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here and sharing all of your insights. And I'm looking forward to checking out some of your work.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Young Boss Podcast with me, Isabel Garino. Be sure to like, share, and follow on Instagram and TikTok. And let me know, are you ready to turn your hobby into your full-time career? Remember, your youth is your power.